right, so again, welcome everyone. My name is Andrew Smith, and this is the Career Overview group interview. The first thing I want to talk about is something that's crucial and critical to anyone's career in sales, anyone's career in anything really, but particularly in sales. And that's being part of a company culture that aligns with who you are or who you want to be. And I know it's probably getting to be a cliche nowadays to mention company culture, but it's still, I promise you, so very important. You're going to learn more as we go, but I want you to know now that the reason I became part of this company 10 years ago was and is the culture here. I knew that I would be somewhere where I could flourish and create abundance for my family economically, but also personally, because I would have an actual heart in what I was doing. We call it impact and income, and it's making a difference while creating abundance. And we know that if we can accomplish those two core ideas of impact and income, and then we align ourselves with people who share those values, we can attract and retain the right people long term, which will help us to continue to accomplish our mission, which is to accelerate the adoption of renewable energy worldwide. Having success in sales, in a sales career, for sure is about having the right opportunity at the right time, having sales systems and training in place, and aligning that with high-level success habits. In short, then, if you're a person that values and has great habits in life, or just has a deep desire to implement great habits to improve your future, then again, as I mentioned, I am biased, but I think you're very likely to consider today the best job and income opportunity that you've ever been part of. And I'll start that off by first explaining the Brit with grit. And over 10 years ago, just over 10 years ago, I was successful in business. I built a special events company from scratch and kind of made the American dream. And so I was in the special events industry with my own company. It made me professionally satisfied. I was creating economic success too and helping others succeed professionally. But I truly had no heart in what I was doing at that time. And right coincidentally, maybe the universe doesn't make mistakes. Right at that time, I bumped into an 8-minute video, a short video, made by the CEO of Powur, Mr. Jonathan Budd. Now, I knew who Jonathan was. I was developing my internet marketing skills, and he at the time was one of the world's top gurus on internet marketing. But the video talked about the same things. He built enormous success, truly enormous success, but he was really deeply unhappy because he had no heart in what he was doing. He was a multimillionaire at age 28, so typically that story doesn't generate huge empathy. But I think it shows you, or hopefully shows you, that having a heart in something is at least as important as the abundance part. Jonathan went on a long retreat in the Amazon in Ecuador to be with a tribe called the Ashwar. And yes, I know this isn't a normal executive startup story. He went down there with an organization called the Pachamama Alliance and spent time with the Ashwar. While he was down there, he really got to see firsthand the destruction to their world that was being created by particularly the petrochemical industry down in that part of Ecuador. He came back from that retreat absolutely driven to create a company to move the world away from fossil fuels. The organization, the Pachamama Alliance, that made that retreat happen, the founder of that is actually now one of the directors on our board of directors. So quite literally, the mission is at the heart of everything that we do. I partnered with Powur before it was even open to the public. I went to work. I knew I had found my home. And apparently in today's language, especially amongst young people, it makes me an OG, I'm led to believe. So over the years, Jonathan Budd, the CEO, has become one of my best friends. And it was he that gave me the nickname, the Brit with Grit. And I thought, you know what? People might remember that. I like that nickname. It's stuck. And so I named my company with that nickname. My why, my son there was 7 years old. He was and is my why. It was to leave a better legacy for him and his future generations. I truly want to leave the planet better than I found it for their futures, rather than simply running up debt on their environmental credit cards. My experience now is about a decade in solar and renewable energy sales and strategies. I built a sales organization of over 5,000 consultants. I actually worked inside the company Powur as the sales support manager. where I develop the training curriculum and program. But I'll best serve you today by sharing information about our company and answering your questions, again, probably to a better level on a one-to-one if you choose to have that meeting. My company, Brick with Grit Inc., works exclusively with Powur, and I'll tell you more about that as we go forward. So I think many of you are well aware that the solar industry and the renewable energy industry is absolutely booming. The numbers are staggering. So I mentioned impact and income. Let's have a look at the impact and income part of this. In the USA, there are around about 130 million homes across the country. Of those homes, 90 million are eligible for solar. Eligible meaning they're in a location with a utility that works, that has roof space and so on. 90 million are eligible for solar. You don't need to come off mute or write or shout out or anything, but just have a guess, an estimate. Over 20 years of the solar industry, what sort of percentage of that 90 million do you think have actually gone solar? The answer may or may not surprise you, but the answer is less than 4% only have gone solar of the eligible homes. Only about 3.5 million homes have already gone solar. So obviously that leaves a massive market of 87 million eligible homes. Last year, somebody went solar every 44 seconds. When I gave this presentation a year ago, that was every 63 seconds. So we're starting to accelerate that. What's driving this industry? There is one of the main drivers is a 30% federal tax credit for homeowners. That's been a big influence. But there's now massive legislation that has been passed and is now starting, you'll start to see being implemented, like the Inflation Reduction Act, the infrastructure bill. And there's other incentives and clean energy mandates. And it means that we're about to see a massive vertical growth, as you'll see in a moment, of this industry. One of the big driving forces coming is our electric car mandates, right? Now, however people feel about electric cars themselves, the reality is in 3 to 5 years, if you buy a new car, it will almost certainly be electric or have some kind of electrification, because major manufacturers are scrapping their facilities that manufacture diesel and gas engines, right? They're shifting away. The industry, the SEIA, the industry body, estimates it's about a 40% increase expected in domestic usage of electricity because of electric car mandates. Well, in California, where I'm from, the utility can't cope with the current situation. So the notion that it can cope with a 40% increase in demand is frankly pretty ludicrous. So that's going to drive residential rooftop solar with batteries for home energy management, and the car will be an integral part of that mix, and that's coming. The SEIA estimate that this is going to be a $6 trillion shift. When we move away from fossil fuels to renewables, it's a $6 trillion shift, the largest shift of wealth in history. So I'm going to just sidebar here yesterday. I don't know if people follow the news, but there was a meeting, a conference called COP or COP28. It was in Dubai that just finished yesterday. This is 200 countries in Dubai, right, in an oil-producing nation. 200 countries all signed an agreement, and the integral language of that agreement is that we all agree that we are transitioning away from fossil fuels. Now, there are all kinds of loopholes, I'm sure, in this agreement, and it's kind of contingent on people doing the right thing. But the bottom line is, if you are an investment banker or you're running stocks or investment portfolios for pension funds or anywhere else, if you know that the world is transitioning away by agreement of 200 countries away from fossil fuels, are you really going to continue investing to the same level in that energy form? The answer is likely not. Otherwise, you're going to be liable probably for lawsuits down the road. So again, we're going to see this massive shift to investment in renewable energy. When you're selling anything, you need to have a value proposition, right? What's the value proposition of whatever it is you're selling? So let's have a look at the value proposition of solar. Give you a good example. I mean, honestly, solar just really makes financial sense for homeowners. My neighbor 2 doors down from me decided to go solar, and thankfully he went solar with us. It would have changed the atmosphere on our walks with the dogs in the morning if he hadn't, right? But he did, thankfully. So I designed a system that was big enough for his usage his prior usage, and then to accommodate 40% bump for his electric vehicle. He recently he emailed me across his Southern California Edison utility bill, which was for minus $64. Negative utility bill. Imagine those, right? Negative 64. Pretty cool, right? He paid cash for his system. He'll have recouped his investment in under 4 years. And then, because of our 30-year parts and labor warranty, he'll have a warranted, protected self-generation system for 26 years, producing power for free and beyond. That's just our warranty. Most people are financing their solar systems. Our finance is zero down, so nothing out of pocket if people wish it to be. So in his case, he could have chosen to finance for nothing out of pocket, and he would have been paying about 50% less than his current Edison bill. So he'd have cut it in half, and he would have had 40% more power. So again, it's really a financial no-brainer. We call it a financial IQ test in most cases. So obviously, we're all excited about the solar and renewable energy industry. It's a special place to be for the foreseeable couple of decades. There are a lot of companies in the industry. So my job today, or my intent today, is help you understand what makes Powur unique from other companies in the space, and hopefully give you confidence that we are the ones that you should be working with. As I mentioned, what attracted me to Powur was the mission and vision, creating abundance for my family, leaving a legacy. So I've invested in Powur. I'm a stockholder in the company, but I've also invested a more precious commodity, my life, in building an organization with the company over 10 years. What am I investing in, right? When you invest in a company, what are you investing in? All a company really is people. So an investment of money and or time in a company means that you're investing in the people of that company. What made me invest so much in Powur? Well, I've mentioned the visionary CEO, Jonathan Budd. He is just a remarkable human. His vision is being executed through a group of incredibly talented humans at the director level and managerial level. Powur has something unique in this industry, which I'm going to describe in more detail in a moment. And because of that unique feature, our business model, we're attracting top corporate solar talent, top sales leaders, developing top sales leaders, and attracting companies. Whole companies are joining our ecosystem. As you'll see shortly, Powur installs a lot of solar, yet it's not a solar company. Powur is a platform. Powur has developed a unique business model, and it's executing that model with a platform. And that platform connects someone like me or you, if you see yourself working with us, to work with customers across the United States. We're in currently around 26 states. The platform enables me to have solar proposals designed, to enable contracting and connection to operations for all aspects of a solar project. The platform model is not new. It's been around for the last couple of decades, as you've seen. So traditional retailing has been absolutely superseded by online retailing, platform-based retailing with Amazon. Amazon Prime Days are not good for me. I have to duct tape my hands down because I love the convenience and the pricing and the fact that it's delivered next day, right? It's an incredibly convenient experience with reviews and all of the stuff that people want on a really efficient platform. It's why it's winning. Similarly, with Uber and Lyft, they offer an experience for riders like myself who prefer to use the app and learn about the driver and just have the convenience of the app. In my case, I use both Uber and Lyft. Wherever I go, I stay. I've just come back from staying in an Airbnb. Why do I stay in an Airbnb? Because I want to stay in a house when I'm away from home. I want to cook for myself and make it, as good an experience as possible. I love the convenience of the app and again, the reviews and everything I can see to book that on that experience. But if you think about the business side of this for a moment, the big hotel chains, it costs them somewhere in the region of $200 to $400 million to build a hotel. Then they've got to advertise those rooms. They've got to staff the hotel. They've got to sell those rooms for however long it takes to even break even. Airbnb does billions of dollars of business, and it has no infrastructure cost like that. It's a platform. It's incredibly efficient. And again, it's why it's a winning way of doing business. The obvious one of Netflix crushing Blockbuster, but we're even seeing this in real estate now. Traditional real estate, people going to offices is becoming a thing of the past, right? People are shopping online for real estate. EXP is a platform-based real estate company. It's one of the fastest growing real estate brokerages in the world. Other traditional real estate companies like Remax are joining them on platform-based real estate because they're getting beaten by them. This is what Powur is doing for the solar industry, right? So we are to the solar industry as these companies on the right here are to their respective industries. And honestly, that's why Powur really is the platform in solar, and we are crushing legacy solar sales models. So put simply, from the palm of your hand, right? In the palm of your hand, you can sell solar across the United States in 26 states. Powur handles all of the work of the project, the operations and everything, the actual work of the project. And then we work with vetted installers across the country to actually physically install the systems. The Powur platform is the hub, and it connects you to homeowners, installation partners, product partners, and finance partners. There are many, many ways to sell solar using the Powur platform. We can teach you all of them. My personal focus is on remote sales using Zoom. So I sell online using Zoom. So if you want to work online to sell solar, then all of the training resources and systems are available to you to do just that. I've personally sold hundreds of projects. My team has sold thousands. I have about, in my team, between my team, about 12,000 installations over the last 4 years. There are 7-figure earners on my team, many earning 6. And I'm not stating this to be an arrogance or toot our horns. The reason I'm stating that is because I, like just about everybody on my team, had 0 experience in selling solar. But we have, alongside Powur, created systems and processes that would enable, or that do enable, anybody to participate in the solar industry. For those of you that wish to truly flourish, that pathway is here for you too. Powur has a unique cost of goods model, and I am going to genuinely cover that in a moment. So the cost of goods model is the business model that's unique to Powur. Before I get into that, I'm going to give you a little history of the company. So after evolving in 2014, we were like a lead generation platform. We were selling appointments and contracts to other solar companies. At the time, in 2016, we had the fastest crowdfunding raise to $1 million on WeFunder. It was 26 days. We had another one a couple of years ago that was 14 million when we were expecting 10. So we broke records there. The cost of goods model and the platform were launched in 2018, or excuse me, 2019, but halfway through 2019 is when we started to launch that whole model, the COGS model and the platform. And look what happened to our growth, right? It's pretty obvious, right? It's hockey stick growth. So for 4 years now straight, we've been on the Inc. 500 for fastest growing companies of any kind in the US. It's made us the fastest growing residential solar company in the US for 4 years straight. For perspective on that, there are 32 million or so companies that are eligible for the Inc. 500. Obviously, only 500 can make it. Of the ones that have made it, only 6% have ever been on it 4 times, and fewer than 1% have been on it 4 years consecutively like we just did. So we're pretty proud of that. So 2019, 8.8 million, 2020, 96 million, 2021, 187 million, 323 million last year. And this year, we have an expected revenue of around $450 million, about $500 million. So I think you can see our growth has been extraordinary. What's even more extraordinary is on this graph, and this graph gets me very excited. It's maybe not visually, that exciting, but when you understand what's going on here, I think you will be too. The CAGR, C-A-G-R, is the compound annual growth rate of the SAM, of the service available markets. What does that mean in English? It means where we can do business, and this is just residential solar. So where we can do business in residential solar is going to start to grow vertically. That vertical growth you saw of Powur happened in this period here, where it's relatively flat, right? 4% or so. But over the next 4 or 5 years, it's going to go 400 to 500% growth, and then doubling again through 2035. So this whole industry, the markets where we can sell our products, is growing exponentially. Why? Because of the things I mentioned, like the electric car mandates, the Inflation Reduction Act, and or the infrastructure bill. All of those things are driving the growth of the renewable energy industry. And then COP28, I mean, I think that's going to have an enormous impact on our industry in a positive way. So this is just solar. This is just the US. I think you can see then why participating in the solar and renewable energy industry is pretty darned exciting. So the cost of goods model. Powur recognizes there are many people in the solar ecosystem, right? There's engineers, there's installers, designers, but Powur recognizes that the most important people in the solar industry are sellers. And this is why Powur developed the cost of goods model. It's a model that's designed to attract, develop, and retain the best sellers in the solar industry. When I say unique and transparent, what do I mean? With the cost of goods model, when I have a proposal for a homeowner, everything is laid out to me in terms of what everything costs Powur. There's no hidden, it's not hidden behind a red line is the industry jargon. This is a cost of goods model. So the panels, the permits, the installation, everything is laid out on what it actually costs the company. Then I, or you, or us together, we get to set the margin on the project. So we have full control over the margin. That means we not only control the margin, we control the profits and our own commissions. So how does that break down? So let me give you this, and I don't want to get too deep into the weeds on this presentation, but it's really pretty straightforward. Keeping it simple, there are 5 ways that we get paid. The first way is through personal sales. When you personally sell a project as a tier 2 seller or higher, you receive 70% of the margin that you set. Right now, the conservative average for those per sale is $6,000 to $7,000 per sale. Remember, that's on a product that has the value proposition that I described with regard to my neighbor, a kind of no-brainer product. It's pretty remarkable, right? A tier 2 seller I mentioned. A tier 2 seller is a tier 1 seller. When you join, you become a tier 1. Tier 2 sellers have passed an online certification course and sold either 3 projects minimum with a tier 3 seller, or 1 project if you can show a resume with at least a year of solar sales on it. So either 3 or 1 project together with a tier 3. So when you join as a tier 3 seller, you will work with when you join as a tier 1 seller, you will work with a tier 3 seller and have a partnered sale. You split the commissions 50-50, so you're earning $300 to $3,500 on those projects. This is a massive win-win, because the tier 3 seller, in exchange for that, is going to mentor you and coach you through the entire process. Tier 1s then make thousands of dollars while they learn. Typically in the legacy models, you would shadow for free. Here, you make thousands of dollars while you learn. Like most intelligent sales structures that exist now, you can receive revenue share on your team's revenue if you decide to build a team. It's certainly not required. Many of my teammates don't build a team at all, and they make, great 6-figure income solely from their personal sales. It's up to you. If you do decide that you want to build a sales team, the revenue share model is like insurance companies such as Aflac or other type of insurance companies, or modern real estate companies like Keller Williams and EXP. And they enable you to earn from sales made by those in your sales organization. This is passive income, and it comes from Powur's share of the margin. So from the 70-30 split, Powur pays out half of its share into this sales organization revenue override, right? This is passive income that can add up pretty quickly if you have those goals. But as you can see from the 100% of margin that you set, sellers end up with 85%, Powur ends up with 15%. And I think this shows you not only Powur's commitments to sellers, but I think hopefully it's clear that it's only possible with the incredibly efficient platform model that we use at Powur. Most solar systems are sold to customers using finance. Lenders actually give solar companies, it's a dirty little secret, a kickback when they sell a loan for a solar system. Not only is Powur the only solar company I've ever heard of that tells its sellers about that kickback, but they pay it right through to us. It averages 1.5% of the full value of every loan that we sell. It gave us a major pay raise for doing what we were doing anyway, selling solar systems. But now instead of $7,000, it's $7,800 on this example here. So it was a heck of a bump in pay for doing what we were doing anyway. Finally, you receive stock options for your sales, and there's bonus stock options available if you hit certain targets. Details on that can come later. I don't want to get too deep into that here. It is the intention of Powur to have an IPO, become a public company in the not too distant future. This year's revenue figure that I mentioned makes that closer. It depends on the macroeconomics that we're going to see, although it's starting to look a bit more favorable with the Fed. Hopefully, fingers crossed, starting to reduce interest rates has been a big one. When Powur goes IPO, when it becomes a public company, Powur will become a global renewable energy utility. So we will be involved with all kinds of renewable energy products, the cutting edge battery technologies, electric vehicle chargers, electric vehicles themselves, Internet of Things, smart panels, you name it. Anything that's relevant in renewable energy. So picture building a client base of residential solar customers and then being able to go back to that base with other products, right, and sell them and get paid on them, especially as they would have already seen the benefits of solar. Not only that, but we'll be able to we'll be able to increase our national and international footprints, perhaps with products relevant to opening those new markets, maybe not residential solar, but other relevant products for those markets. All right. This part here is new to us. I know that you're looking at this. Many of you, maybe most of you, have a salaried position or some kind of W-2 income. When you shift to 1099 commission-only income, one of the hurdles can be finding great healthcare. Powur has partnered up with Clearwater to provide Powur Health, and this is fantastic healthcare. One of my teammates saves $1,000 a month on his family's healthcare for better care than he had before. This alone, this healthcare plan alone, is why people actually have been flocking to enroll in our platform, and it's fairly new, so it's been a great asset. All right. So I focus on, I mentioned all already, but I focus on selling remotely and teaching others how to sell remotely. There are many ways to sell solar. Personally, I needed the freedom to live where I want and work when I want on my terms. COVID made me fashionable, right? Just like my mullet from college. COVID made remote selling fashionable, but I actually started selling solar remotely in 2016. Our team, the Powur team, has sellers of all descriptions. Some are door to door, others sell on the phone. There is support and knowledge and training for you, no matter how you prefer to generate sales. Typically, a sale takes me around 2 hours from start to finish. Of course, not every presentation I make results in a sale, but you can see that at an average of around $7,000 in commissions per sale, the equivalent hourly rate in solar is quite extraordinary. A typical week for me, what does it look like? Well, I'm a tier 3 seller, field leader. So tier 1 sellers tag me to work with them on their solar projects, and I have a lot of those projects, and I generate my own personal sales. I audit designs that are prepared for us by Powur, so that they're perfect for the customers, and I coach tier 1s on how to do that. Then I have Zoom presentations with the homeowners to present the proposals with my tier 1, if there is one, or myself if it's a personal sale. These presentations take maybe an hour. Some sell immediately, others schedule for a follow-up presentation. When a project is sold, everything is done by DocuSign, so it's all done by email, but I make sure that the documents are downloaded and then uploaded into the project in the Powur platform so that the customer intake team and the operations team have all the visibility of that. And at that point, I'm pretty much done. I do monitor the projects throughout the process, and I communicate between operations and the customer if and when needed. I do introduce our customers to our ambassador program, which is incredible. It pays $1,000 per referral. More often than not, then one sale results in multiple sales because of that program. I'm personally also focused on building a sales organization to develop successful sales consultants, hence being here today. Obviously, I benefit from that, from the team revenue share. I like passive income that comes from that, but again, team building is up to you. It's a matter of personal preference, certainly not required. So what does a typical week look like for you if you decide that working with us is right for you? You would start, as everybody does, as a tier 1 seller. And as I mentioned, depending on your background, you would need to work with a tier 3 seller on at least 1 or 3 projects. There's no minimum. You can work with as many as you like with a tier 3, but that's the minimums. So, again, working with a tier 3 seller helps you really, really get into the skill set and develop you as a seller. And I think most of you, you are splitting that commission with a tier 3 seller. I would imagine most of you would like to make 100% commissions as quickly as possible. So once you've done the qualifying project or projects, you can become a tier 2 seller. You would need to complete an online training course to do that. This is a solar masterclass. It is world-class training. I co-built it, so I might be a little biased, but it is genuinely some of the best training in the solar industry. At tier 2, you make 100% commissions, and then when you've sold 5 projects on your own, minimum, at tier 2, you're eligible to become a tier 3. Tier 3 sellers receive leads and projects from both tier 1 sellers and from companies that join Powur as what's called enterprises. A good example of that is my friend's roofing company in Dallas. They wanted to be a roofing and solar company. They joined as an entire company with their infrastructure in place, but they don't want to learn all the ins and outs of selling solar. So they go through their database, they have an interested homeowner, they put them in the system, tag me to go and sell it. We split the commission 50-50, everybody wins. They're making money from their database without having to deep dive into solar sales, and I'm basically a closer, everybody wins. All of this genuinely is pretty straightforward. We can dive into more detail during your one-to-one interview. I do have a good number of new teammates who hit tier 3 in a few short weeks. All right, this part is super important, the sacrifice part. I've talked about this big cream cake that is the solar industry and the delicious dessert of Powur's platform, but it's now time to eat a little broccoli. We should maybe have eaten the broccoli first, but here we are. Every pathway in life has sacrifice, and I'm sure that most of you understand this already. It's an impossibility to have high levels of success in anything in life without having successful habits and sacrifice. Wherever you're at in your career, there's always going to be sacrifice. If you're in a job, a low-paying hourly wage job, just barely paying the bills, it's a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice of your time each week. More importantly, it's a sacrifice of your future, because one of the biggest time investments of your life, your career, isn't moving you to a place of actually having that life that you desire. Under normal circumstances, bigger success requires bigger sacrifice. For example, a 6-figure salaried doctor or lawyer, they literally sacrifice 10 to 15 years of their life going to school. They don't know if they're going to love what they're going to do. They don't know if their career is going to provide them the lifestyle they actually desire. And at the same time, they're racking up massive debt, hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans. So those loans, the unknown, the 10 to 15 year time period, huge sacrifice, right? And I'm not judging either one of those two careers. But the point is, regardless of what you do in your career, you're always going to sacrifice something, typically with time and money being involved. And that includes the opportunity before you with us, with Powur. With Powur, there is a sacrifice, and it's not for everyone, but the end result for those who are willing to put in the work here means that they'll finally be in an environment that you can genuinely love and feel proud of, and at the same time, create the abundance that you deserve and desire. What I really like about love in fact, about the sacrifice here with Powur is it's short-lived, right? You get paid equally, as you've seen, equally or realistically, way more than that same doctor or lawyer per hour, and they put in 10 to 15 years of school. But instead of 10 to 15 years, it may take 3 to 6 months. Here's what the sacrifice looks like. With Powur, there are fees to participate. The 2 positions on the right here, the Powur Pro and the Powur Enterprise, are for companies like the company I mentioned in Dallas. This is how they are set up within the company. This is the position that you'll be looking at here. It's the Powur Seller. So there is a $99 one-time fee that is to enable you to do the tier 1 certification training, and then opens up the full platform and full university of training, tier 2, tier 3 certifications, masterclasses in solar, a whole university for the one time. And then it's $85 a month for the license, the monthly technology cost, as it's called here, to participate and have a national solar company in the palm of your hand. That's the fees. Plainly, these are tiny costs, but it is something that's a consideration for some people, and we like to be transparent and upfront about it. As I mentioned, you join as a tier 1 seller, like everybody does, right? Powur is set up for self-generation of leads and projects. And this always, no, not always, but this sometimes sounds a little scary to people, that you have to generate your own leads. There are solar companies out there who offer you so-called free leads. But I promise you, from personal hard experience over 10 years, the word free is the most expensive word in the English language. So internet marketing, Google ads, social media marketing for solar customers are some of the most expensive keywords in the internet marketing industry. So Powur can generate these leads at super high cost, hand them to people who basically aren't equipped to go and convert them into sales. Anybody who doesn't convert a lead into a sale never typically blames themselves. They blame the leads or they blame the company. So it's just a massively expensive way for Powur to create bad will all around. So it doesn't do that. Instead, Powur pays double, right? Double the commissions of legacy solar companies. We are paying twice the industry standard commissions, right? Because otherwise, if there was a cost of leads, it would have to come out of that, right? It would inevitably have to come from commissions. So we have our own commissions. It does mean that you will generate your own sales. There are many ways to do this. We have training and coaching in all of them, right? So this is something that you can jump into and get stuck in with, and there's training on how to do this from day one. It certainly can be a challenge for some people, but not those who are willing to, work a little bit at the beginning to do that. Tier 2 certification is a masterclass genuinely in solar. It's about a 40-hour online course. It requires time and effort sacrifice. The benefit of it is that after completing that and then working with a tier 3 seller, you'll be equipped with the knowledge and the skills to genuinely go and work anywhere in the solar industry. Of course, I strongly believe that you wouldn't want to work anywhere else, but you'd be set up for success either way. At tier 3, there's an internal lead flow available. This comes from tier 1 sellers looking for tier 3s. And also for, as I mentioned, the enterprises looking for closers. These are worth thousands of dollars each. They're pure gold. And at this point, you've proven that you can sell. So that's why that lead flow opens up to you at that point. In order to access that lead flow, you have to sell 5 projects on your own as a tier 2. Of course, that takes some work and effort, right? As a tier 3 also, if you do work with a tier 1, you're expected to coach those tier 1s if they're looking for that coaching. It does require then a responsibility and a willingness to teach because you're now more in a leadership type role. From tier 3, you can progress to be a field leader like myself. I build and train teams of sellers and set them up as professionals, set them up for success. Team bonus overrides are substantial, but it does take a sacrifice of commitment to developing other people. That's it, really. That's a sacrifice. If you're someone who already practices great habits, like showing up consistently, working hard and wanting to improve your skills and learning, or if you just have a real desire to finally implement great habits like this in your life and be in a structure that will help you do that, well, then I can't wait to meet you one-to-one. Because what's pretty cool, after this meeting, you're going to have the opportunity to do just that. To wrap this up, I know for sure, we know for sure that we can take anybody who is committed to their future and anyone who is looking for success and committed to their future, willing to put in the work and make them a huge success. If this is something that you're looking for, like a job, like a salary job to just pay your bills and get by, this may not be the right option for you, right? But if you are looking for something that can change your future, put you in a place to retire, live life on your terms, then this is for you because we experience it on a daily basis. On the one-to-one, I'm going to ask you just a couple of questions. So I just want to put these out there just for you to think about a little bit. What are your actual goals, right? What's your 1 year, 3 year, and 10-year goals? Where do you want to end up in life in 1 year, 3 year, and 10 years? Do you believe that what you've just seen over the last 30 minutes or so with Powur can help you accomplish those goals? And then if you actually had an opportunity that could put you in a place to accomplish those goals, to put you in that structure, would you step up and meet the requirements like the enrollment fee to access world-class training, generating your own projects while you're learning, and rise to the highest levels? I know that there's a reason that you're here, right? You're still looking for the right career opportunity. I'm not sure how you answered those questions, but hopefully those questions will create at least a little clarity around if this is a fit for you or not. We are looking to immediately onboard. We try and onboard 2 to 3 people a week. We have an onboarding session on Monday, and then the one-to-ones will be today and tomorrow. So we'll be making those decisions this week, or next couple of days. All right, next steps are I'm going to come off screen share, come back on camera. I'm going to put a link in the chat box, which is to a Google form. And this Google form should probably take you 5 to 10 minutes to fill out. And Once that comes back to me, it'll give me the opportunity to send you the scheduler so you can schedule your one-to-one interview. We'll meet for about 30 minutes on there. And again, it's great for me. It's my favorite part because I can answer your questions, but I can also learn about your goals and what your aspirations are. And then, like I said, we have onboarding Monday. I'm actually thinking of changing this because we have a lot of people who have been very proactive and they're like, well, why do I want to wait till Monday? So if you want to get onboarded sooner than that, we can make that happen too. But that's what we have on the calendar as it is right now.